You may notice their energy around you in moments when nothing obvious is happening. It is not loud, dramatic, or demanding. It does not interrupt your day. It simply appears as a quiet familiarity, a subtle sense of recognition that does not ask for action. The angels say this is not because you are stuck, and it is not because something is unfinished between you. It is because what was real leaves a trace. Lingering energy is often misunderstood. Many people assume it means attachment, destiny, or an unresolved bond pulling them backward. But the truth is calmer and more grounded than that. Energy lingers not because something must return, but because something mattered enough to register deeply. Impact does not disappear the moment presence ends. It settles slowly, like warmth remaining in a room long after someone has left. The angels explain that meaning always leaves an imprint. When an experience touches you at the level of identity, safety, or emotional truth, your system does not rush to erase it. It allows the experience to finish integrating. This integration does not happen through thinking or analyzing. It happens through time, awareness, and gentle acceptance. What you are sensing is not someone reaching for you. It is not an invitation to reconnect. It is the echo of change. A connection altered how you saw yourself, how you understood closeness, or how you recognized your own needs. That kind of shift does not vanish simply because the situation ended. It becomes part of your internal landscape for a while. The angels emphasize that energy does not linger because of intention. It lingers because of impact. Someone does not have to be thinking of you for their energy to feel present. Energy follows transformation, not desire. If a connection changed you, your system remembers it long enough to complete its understanding. This is why the feeling does not feel urgent. It does not push you toward a decision. It does not create anxiety or longing in the way attachment does. Instead, it feels observational, almost neutral. You notice it without feeling pulled by it. This is an important distinction. Attachment creates tension. Integration creates awareness. At some point in the past, you may have tried to push this feeling away. You may have told yourself that you should be over it by now. That resistance did not mean you were weak. It meant your system was not ready to absorb what the experience taught you. Now, the resistance has softened. And when resistance softens, awareness becomes clearer. The angels say his clarity is not a setback. It is progress. When you stop fighting a feeling, it often becomes more visible at first. That does not mean it is growing stronger. It means you are no longer suppressing it. And what is seen clearly can finally complete its role. You are not being asked to interpret this energy as a sign. It is not a message to decode. It is not a signal about the future. It is simply the nervous system completing a process that could not finish earlier. Growth often continues after experiences end, not during them. You may notice that the energy appears in calm moments rather than emotional ones. It shows up when you are steady, not when you are overwhelmed. This is because your system now has the capacity to hold it without confusion. The angels say awareness replaces attachment when growth begins. You are no longer clinging. You are understanding. This understanding does not require you to revisit the past or re-engage with the person involved. It does not require conversation, closure, or explanation. Some forms of closure happen entirely inside. They occur when insight replaces questioning, and when acceptance replaces analysis. The lingering energy is not asking you to act. It is not asking you to wait. It is not asking you to hope. It is simply completing its movement through you. Like a wave that has already broken, it is now returning to stillness. As this becomes clearer, you may feel less inclined to assign meaning to every sensation. You stop asking, "Why now?" Or, "What does this mean?" Because the presence itself feels complete without answers. This is a sign of emotional maturity. You are allowing experience to settle without forcing conclusions. The angels remind you that integration is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not create drama. It happens when you are no longer trying to control the narrative of what something meant. You let it be what it was, and that permission allows the energy to move toward resolution naturally. This first stage is about recognition without attachment. You are acknowledging that something left a mark without turning that mark into a story about destiny or return. You are honoring impact without confusing it with obligation. And in this recognition, something stabilizes. The energy no longer feels mysterious. It no longer pulls at you. It simply exists as part of what shaped you. That is not being stuck. That is being human. The angels say when meaning is honored, it does not need to linger much longer. Awareness begins the release. As awareness deepens, the nature of the lingering energy becomes clearer. It is no longer something you question. It becomes something you observe without tension. The angels say this shift marks the beginning of true integration. When energy stops demanding interpretation, it starts completing its work. At this stage, it is important to understand that integration is not an active task. You are not required to process, analyze, or resolve anything deliberately. Integration happens when you allow the experience to settle without interference. The energy remains present, not because it is unfinished, but because it is still being absorbed into your understanding. Many people confuse this phase with attachment because the energy still feels noticeable. But attachment creates urgency. Integration creates steadiness. You are not pulled toward the past. You are not replaying conversations or imagining outcomes. Instead, you may notice moments of quiet reflection where insight arrives without effort. The angels explain that some connections complete their meaning only after distance exists. While you are inside the experience, survival, emotion, or uncertainty may have limited what you could see. Now, with space, your system can finally register what truly changed within you. That registration takes time, not because you are holding on, but because growth does not rush. You may find that the energy feels different now than it did before. It is less charged, less emotional, less tied to identity. This shift is significant. It means the experience is no longer defining you. It is informing you. There is a difference. Definition traps. Information liberates. This is also why the energy does not point outward anymore. It does not suggest reaching out, revisiting, or reopening anything. Its direction is inward. It is clarifying your boundaries, your values, and your emotional literacy. The angels say some connections finish teaching only when you are no longer inside them. You may notice that certain patterns make more sense now. Choices you made, reactions you had, limits you ignored or honored. These realizations arrive quietly, not as judgment, but as understanding. And understanding is the signal that integration is underway. At this point, resistance has largely dissolved. You are no longer trying to push the energy away or explain it away. You allow it to exist without giving it authority. This is crucial. Energy that is not given authority naturally loses its intensity. It no longer needs to compete for your attention. The angels emphasize that this phase does not require emotional labor. There is nothing to fix, nothing to prove, nothing to complete through action. The work is already happening through awareness alone. When awareness is present, the nervous system reorganizes itself naturally. You may also notice that the energy appears less frequently now. And when it does appear, it stays for a shorter time. It comes, registers, and passes. This is the rhythm of integration. Not disappearance, but softening. Not erasure, but completion. Another important shift happens here. You stop wondering what the energy means about the other person. Their thoughts, feelings, or intentions lose relevance. Not because they never mattered, but because the energy is no longer about them. It is about what you are becoming as a result of the experience. The angels are clear about this. Lingering energy reflects your internal process, not someone else's emotional state. When this distinction becomes clear, confusion fades. You stop looking outward for confirmation. You stop scanning for signs. You stop assigning meaning to coincidence. Instead, your attention returns to yourself, to your sense of stability, to your capacity for presence. This is where integration strengthens. When attention is reclaimed, energy resolves more easily. You may notice that memories connected to this energy no longer sting. They feel neutral, sometimes even instructive. They do not pull you into regret or longing. They simply exist as reference points. This neutrality is not numbness, it is balance. The angels say balance is the sign that attachment has released its grip. Attachment narrows perception. Balance widens it. You can hold the memory without being held by it. You can acknowledge impact without being defined by it. This is also where patience becomes important. Not patience in waiting for something to change, but patience in allowing completion to happen at its own pace. Forcing closure interrupts integration. Letting understanding mature allows it. As this part of the process continues, you may feel a subtle confidence returning. Not confidence tied to outcome or validation, but confidence rooted in self-trust. You begin to trust that you can experience something deeply and still move forward without losing yourself. The angels say this trust is one of the greatest outcomes of integration. You are no longer afraid of depth. You are no longer afraid of connection. You know now that even when something ends, you remain intact. This awareness gently weakens the remaining energy, not through effort, but through completion. When the lesson is integrated, the energy no longer has a function. And energy without function does not linger for long. You are not meant to notice the exact moment it fades. Integration does not announce endings. One day you simply realize that the feeling has not appeared in a while. And when it does appear, it no longer carries weight. This is not loss. This is resolution without force. The angels remind you that nothing meaningful is wasted. The energy stayed only as long as it needed to teach. And now, as understanding replaces questioning, the process moves naturally toward its final quiet phase. In this final phase, the energy no longer feels like something that needs to be understood. It simply feels settled. You may still recognize it at times, but it no longer asks for your attention. It no longer carries questions. It exists without weight, like a memory that has found its place instead of floating around unresolved. The angels say this is how integration completes, not with a dramatic ending, but with quiet alignment. The energy fades not because you pushed it away, but because it no longer has work to do. Understanding has caught up with experience, and when that happens, the system naturally returns to balance. At this stage, you notice a shift in how you relate to the past connection. There is no urge to reinterpret it, no desire to rewrite it, no need to extract more meaning from it. What mattered has already been taken in. What did not belong to you has already fallen away. This is where emotional maturity becomes visible. You can acknowledge that something left an imprint without turning that imprint into a destination. You do not confuse impact with obligation. You do not confuse memory with invitation. The angels say this distinction is a sign of inner stability. You may also notice that your sense of self feels clearer now. Experiences that once blurred your boundaries have sharpened them instead. You know better what you can hold and what you no longer need to carry. This clarity is not defensive. It is calm. It does not close you off. It grounds you. The lingering energy, if it appears at all, feels different now. It is faint, brief, almost observational. It comes and goes without stirring emotion. This is not suppression. This is completion. When something is integrated, it no longer seeks expression. The angels emphasize that this stage is not about forgetting. Forgetting is not the goal. Integration allows you to remember without reactivating. The experience becomes part of your history, not part of your present nervous system response. This is a healthy conclusion. You may realize that your attention has naturally shifted forward. You are more engaged with what is happening now. Your curiosity is no longer anchored to what was. This is not because the past lost value, but because it delivered what it came to give. There is also a subtle sense of relief that arrives here. Not relief because something ended, but relief because you no longer have to manage the feeling. You are no longer checking whether it is still there. You are no longer measuring progress. The process has completed itself. The angels say this is the moment where energy dissolves into wisdom. Energy is movement. Wisdom is what remains after movement settles. You carry forward insight, discernment, and self-trust, not emotional residue. At this point, even if the energy were to surface again briefly, it would not disturb you. You would recognize it for what it is, a harmless echo, a reminder of growth, not a signal, not a message, not a call. This is where freedom quietly returns. Not freedom from feeling, but freedom from being directed by feeling. You are no longer organized around what happened. You are organized around who you are now. The angels remind you that this is how healthy release looks. There is no cutting, no erasing, no dramatic letting go. There is simply a return to center, a sense that everything is where it belongs. You do not need to declare closure. Closure has already occurred through understanding. When understanding is complete, the system relaxes. And when the system relaxes, energy moves on naturally. What remains is not absence, but integration. Not emptiness, but space. Space for new experiences that meet you where you are now, not where you were then. The angels say, this is the gift of lingering energy understood correctly. It was never meant to keep you tethered. It was meant to guide you through completion without force. And now, as this cycle finishes, you continue forward without carrying what no longer belongs to the present. Calm, clear, grounded, the energy has done its work. And so have you.